Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we have some pretty fun news and honest to God, thank God news to go in here, because right now we're seeing the Switch 2 getting really built up on hype, and people are, well, basically anticipating that it's going to be a really big hot seller. Some advertisers and basically people that are into the big analytics sides are saying it might even be selling up to over 4 million in the first year, which in all honesty, based on how I saw the PlayStation selling, I would almost want to say it might be a little bit higher than that. But one big thing to note, and I'm sure a lot of us who have been active on this channel or just in the general gaming sphere know, scalpers are a problem. Botters and people going and camping out on websites, the literal microsecond it goes live, or people actually paying money to go and buy out like 1,000 consoles at once to either go and resell to people in America, or as well, one really big issue we saw with the PlayStation and Xboxes is actually hoarding as much stock as they possibly can and unironically shipping them to different countries, such as sending them to China, which is the biggest deal we saw from the PS5 restocking era, and of course as well in India, other various places like Australia, South America, and even places such as Dubai that, well, they have a lot of people out there with money, although mostly is impoverished, depending on where you kind of look at, but there's also a lot of people that are very rich, and they were able to go and pay specific higher premiums, and as well, due to the basically United States regulations, certain consoles actually do have a lot more freedom too as well. So obviously, as we're kind of going introducing this video, scalping is going to be a problem, and without a doubt, as much as I don't want to admit it, scalping is going to happen on the Nintendo Switch 2. But thankfully, Nintendo's already stepping on in and talking about how they're going to be reaching out to specific retailers and different companies to try their best to calm down scalping as best as possible. So let's go and talk about the fact that this might actually, hopefully, fingers crossed, will be a good launch for this next generation console. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. Would love to have you guys here. And reminder, we will be having some big major updates to the YouTube account very soon, so keep that in mind. Make sure you guys also check out the Twitters and Twitches down below. We're checking out Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 on the Twitch user board throughout the night, so check it out over there and follow. And of course, I want to hear your thoughts and comments on everything throughout the video itself. So very first and foremost, this is kind of the big news on over here where, and hopefully it's the right capture, it is thankfully right here says Nintendo says it's making preparations right now to go and combat against the Switch 2 resellers, or as I mentioned, just scalpers, Shintaro Furukawa says Nintendo will put measures in place to prevent Switch 2 scalpers. Basically saying Nintendo themselves are stepping on up and making sure that they do not want to go and have little Jimmy over here for Christmas having to go and spend $800 to go and have a chance to play the brand new Mario game that's coming out than this. So Nintendo's president has said the company will put measures in place to prevent resellers from significantly impacting Nintendo Switch 2 launch supplies. This is money. If you guys know me, I've always mentioned this on my channel, and where I will always respect the roots of the PS5 and Xbox era of doing the restocking on the channel to basically help people go be like Target's restocking or Walmart's restocking, whatever. I did try my best because I wanted to have a lot of normal people get their consoles and not have to pay the exorbitant, I'm not sure if that's the right word, exorbitant, whatever it is, exuberant prices that scalpers had to go and pay. And well, some people did just go and default and spend like $800, and it was a horrible, horrible vibe. I didn't want people to spend an extra $300 for a console you could buy right now for like $400. But anyway, it's just how the world is. There's a lot of issues. People like the hype. People have fear of missing out or FOMO, and just happens. But speaking to the Japanese press for the first time since Switch 2's announcement on Tuesday, Shintaro Furukawa was asked how Nintendo plans to ensure a smooth launch for the console, rightfully so, especially considering the original Switch's history of stock shortages, which was happening too as well throughout the COVID pandemic, supply chain issues, semiconductor issues, and while there were things still being mass produced and made, there was still a lot of issues at the end of the day. Furukawa said Nintendo has made preparations based on its past experience and planned to prepare enough Switch 2 console inventory to meet demand. He said via Nikkei, translated by VGC, "We will take all possible measures based on the experience we have accumulated to date regarding scalpers and the like. We are making preparations." And once again, if you want to buy this day one or within the first 2 or 3 months, this is what I want to see. I want to see them have enough stock that's mass produced and made, and anyone out there who is waiting for it can probably get it day one. There's gonna be a lot of children out there, a lot of parents, a lot of just people who want to make other folks happy, and this is where I have that little special, anti-scalper vibe. Because we've seen other companies out here, such as, say in Japan or even in America throughout the years, just from 2022, where they had this very easy, simplistic style, very heavily in Japan, where they had things like you had to give them your ID, which some people may not like, I get it, but basically people out there would have to give your ID. You'd be able to go and have one console per basically account for your account tied into, say, your ID. Or as well, they had specific things like your name was attached to the box. So let's say your name is like John Smith and you're trying to resell the console, they would see it. As well, sometimes even these places were just unironically opening up the consoles, which once again, if you're a legitimate buyer, you probably don't want that, but maybe some people don't mind, who cares? But they would just be like straight up opening the box, so it loses resale value. There's a lot of various things, such as well as other various things, such as say GameStop had things like the GameStop Pro Rewards, which was an annoyance because they were also trying to sell bundles too on top of that. But at the same time, there was merits to it. There was actual benefits for it. And while I didn't love it at the time, it did help people who legitimately wanted to get their consoles at a reasonable price and not to spend money on scalpers, made it go and work on out. So we're not sure exactly what Nintendo wants to go do with it, but I can think of a lot of various ideas, and I do think that they are already preparing some of this as we speak, because I do know that there's been preparations in production of the Switch 2 already. We've seen initial leaks so far from like basically these big contraction deals from like Nvidia and screen producers that the Switch 2 has been in production for a while. That's why we've had a lot of more leaks in these past few months, and also confirmation from, well, the Nintendo presidents and higher ups, because they just know it's already been made. I'm sure there's some warehouses stockpiling with probably hundreds of thousands of Switch 2s already, and we just wish we could find some random crazy employee who doesn't mind getting fired or sued by Nintendo to go tweet out some pictures. But as we are kind of slowly preparing for the Switch 2 launch, this is great news because I want everyone to be able to go get their consoles. There's also other various things like raffle systems. There's also things like individualized walk-ins. There's pre-orders, and there's a lot of various things out there too as well. And a lot of even big companies too are also even picking up and mass canceling orders when it was like 30, 40, 50 consoles, which should have been happening on a day one, but they did eventually do it. But like I said, another big news too as well is that they're trying to go and combat against these scalpers, and look at, there's a many various ways they can do it. I really think their main idea is they just have such a massively high amount of stock and massively pumping it out. They've sold over 100 million Switches. They can probably go and pre-make like 20 million throughout the first 2 years or so and probably be fine. Like, I'm sure that people will buy them over time. And as well, like, I'm sure with this also having a cross-generational capabilities with the Switch 1, that they will have a chance to go and sell more. Like, I mean, it's also going to calm down selling too, but they also have this big install base, so it doesn't matter that much if they stockpile the consoles, because there will be someone buying these. This is a Switch. I mean, this is Nintendo. Everyone buys one, and whether it's just for families or just you barely play, people always like it. But one thing to note is that they also want to go and consider the affordability that customers expect. We have seen some extremely crazy numbers, such as like a $700 price tag, which I don't think is going to happen. But we've also been seeing a lot more consistent $500 price tag, which once again, I don't think it's going to happen. The specs are a little bit lower than, say, the PS5 and Xbox, and those are already based around like $400. We've seen Xbox go on sale a lot. We've seen the PS5 go on sale a lot. So I'd probably say like a $450 price point. Still a little bit expensive, but if you gave me a $400 Switch, I don't think I'd bat too many eyes. You know, you can let me know your thoughts down below, but it's still expensive, but that's fine. It's a handheld that has merits, you know. It's still expensive, but whatever. But I do want them to go and impact that. Like, it is a slightly lesser spec'd out console, so I want it to be just a little bit better if we can make it better. And well, on top of that, I'm just excited to go get this too as well. But they do want to go and say too that they want to give to ensure the initial inventory of the successor console and a lineup of software titles at the time of its launch. So basically go and also make sure everything's all good. So I agree. This is where I also mentioned too, they want to sell over 4 million units in just the United States alone. We have things in China, Japan, etc. So once again, they know and will be expecting a lot of sales, expecting over 80 million units by the end of 2028, which is more than the original Switch managed during its first 3 years on sale, which was 55 million. So they already know they're going to probably sell over 50 million consoles. And this is where you can have these big production lines churning out hundreds, if not thousands of Switches a day. And then you could just go in and keep on lobbing them out everywhere. So I think this is nice. We don't know exactly what their specific anti-scalping policies are going to be, but they have apparently reached out to retailers. We've seen a lot of big places like Walmart, Best Buy, Amazon, and all these other places, Target, especially in America, trying to go and tone down these systems with all these pro orders, like if you guys remember the 30th anniversary consoles and all of that. So in my mind, I think this is going to be good. I like knowing that scalpers might be squirming a little bit, and I do think this would hopefully make it for normal consumers a little smidgen bit easier to go and get and receive their consoles. I myself am excited for it. I myself want it to go and happen, and I myself, well, I'm probably buying a Switch 2 on day one if I can, which we'll have to see if we could or not. So I don't know your thoughts, but either way, this is good news to go and see. We've I'm happy. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. Give me all your thoughts down below. We do have the Twitters and Twitches down below. 2 Twitter, 2 Twitches. I guess not 2. We have the second YouTube account down below. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching here in the first place.